Hello, everybody, and welcome to Professor P's podcast. I'm Natasha Palumbo, aka Professor P. I'm known for evoking the essence of spirituality by bringing the energetic fire, activating the mind, and speaking the truth. I'm so honored that you are here with us today. I thank you for joining. This podcast is focused on entrepreneurship, empowerment, and energetics. You're going to find a wealth of information inside, guest speakers, and the elixir, a dose of energetic power. So let us join in on today's podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Professor P's podcast. I am so excited that you're here with me today, and I can't wait till I get to my guest speaker. But first, I want to always thank you for your likes, your shares, you subscribing, all the feedback. I'm always so grateful that you are continually getting so much out of the podcast. It really warms my heart that you are all being just able to receive what you need, those pieces of freedom, right? Those pieces of healing. They both come in pieces, and I want you to collect as many as you can. So today you're definitely going to get a whole bunch of pieces, and I want you to put them in your pocket, and I want you to walk on empowered today. I want to introduce my guest to you. I have the pleasure of having Jennifer Ramirez with me. She is an author, entrepreneur, coach, and speaker that is passionate about helping women live their best lives. She is the founder of a nonprofit organization, And Rise, whose mission is to empower women to be the ultimate versions of themselves, no matter what adversities they have faced. Jennifer is also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, sexual assault, and domestic abuse. She shares her story with other survivors to offer them hope and healing as they work through their trauma and abuse. Jennifer is a passionate advocate for all women and offers prevention education to help empower and educate women on a healthy relationships, red flags, and healthy coping skills. Jennifer, thank you for being with me today. I am so excited. Just a little backstory, everybody. I met Jennifer a couple of years ago, and it was at a time that I was kind of wanting to do more around the wounded mother. And I was really calling in like a partner to do that with me so that I could really have a deeper reach and not carry it all, and also come in and help women as much as possible. And there's so many of us to be helped that I didn't want to do it alone. We don't want to do this journey alone. And lo and behold, God answered my prayer. And it had also been on Jennifer's heart too. I mean, she had been thinking about it when I had brought it. And all of a sudden we said, oh, I think we're onto something. So we began The Wounded Mother. And even prior to this podcast today, Jennifer said, it's time again. We are considering actually doing The Wounded Mother in person. We'll keep you posted on that. We'll keep you up to date on that as we figure it out. But if not, it'll be virtual again. We've had 3 amazing virtual sessions of The Wounded Mother, and we've had women all over the globe come to us and really have a safe, sacred space to share about the fact that many of us have suffered with a wounded mother. And even at times, if we're being truly honest and transparent, we were a wounded mother. But the greatest thing is in this life is you do not have to stay in despair. You do not have to stay in your trauma. You can take your trauma and your tragedy and you can turn it into triumph. You do not have to stay a wounded mother. You are able to be a healed one and a free one. So we will keep you posted on that. We hope you come and join us. Jennifer, thank you for being with us today. Why don't you tell my amazing listeners a little bit about you and a little bit about your story? Let's go there before we go into And Rise, which I love And Rise. But let's go into your story a little bit.
Sure. So thank you, first of all, for having me here. I'm super excited. I get asked to do podcasts a lot, but and it's all great. But when you asked me, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be good because we've worked together before and I know your heart and I know you as a person and I just think you're amazing. So I'm very excited. And we also vibe real well. So I think this podcast is going to go good. So thank you.
Yeah, okay.
But all right. So I will just start kind of from the beginning here. So I went through childhood sexual abuse from my father. The abuse started when I was 7 years old. My mom found out about it and didn't do anything. She kind of just, was in the background, just kind of like everybody pretended like it wasn't happening or didn't happen. So that was traumatic in and of itself. And so because of the sexual abuse and because we were told to keep it a secret and don't tell anyone the family secret, I had like zero boundaries. I didn't know what a boundary was. I was never taught that I could say no to anybody. So I just was a yes person to everybody, which caused a lot of issues as I became an adult. And fast forward to when I was 20, I moved to Chicago. I was raised in the suburbs, and then I moved to Chicago to go to college, and I kind of like went a little crazy. I was in a completely different atmosphere with different people, and I was just like, whoa. So I really started self-sabotaging in my early 20s, and then I got pregnant at 20 years old. And then as soon as I told him that I was pregnant, he took off. So I was left to fend for myself and my daughter. And that was very traumatic in and of itself as well. And then just my self-esteem just like plummeted because I just felt like, dang, I'm having a kid with someone and he doesn't even want me or my child. And it was just a really, really tough time in my life. I think I was depressed, but I didn't even know what depression was back then. I just thought I was just sad. And I went to then I had my daughter at 21, and I went through some pretty bad postpartum depression, which I didn't even know at the time was a thing. I wasn't really taught about postpartum depression, and I definitely had it because I had my first panic attack the night I brought my daughter home from the hospital, and it was so scary because I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe and I was freaking out. So anyway, so I would say 2 weeks into being a mother, I kind of got used to it and I was like, okay, I got the hang of it, but for many, many years, honestly, the first like 5 or more years of my daughter's life, I was just on autopilot because I was so busy. Anyone out there that's a single mom knows how hard it is, like when you don't have support from the other parent, and it is very, very, very stressful, and not just stressful like physically, but mentally and emotionally. It's like really, really tough, just trying to get through work and then go home and cook and clean and take them a shower and make sure their homework is done and all these things, and then then it's time for yourself at the end of the day, and that might be an hour. That's really what I had for myself every day was that, went to bed at what, 8, 9, and then I had 1 hour for myself before I had to go to sleep. And that was it. And that was my life for a lot of years. So anyway, I got into I was also in very like toxic relationships as well. And so my last toxic relationship was around my mid 20s. And he was very narcissistic, very controlling. He also had bipolar disorder, which he was not treating. When he told
Mm,
me about it at first, I thought, oh, it's okay, cool. Like I could handle it. It's cool because I liked him so much. I was so like infatuated with this
mm,
man that I was like, oh, I could deal with it. And as the years wore on, it was just so incredibly hard to deal with him. Plus, like the narcissist, he was very emotionally abusive, and then it started to get physical towards the end. I was even physical too, and that's very out of my nature. I'm naturally a very nice, like drama-free person. I don't like to fight, especially physically fighting. Um, but that just situation, he just brought the worst out of me, and he would corner me. He would literally corner me in my house, my own home that I was paying all the bills in, and he wouldn't let me leave if I was trying to leave, and he would just like, you know, punch holes in the walls and slam doors and throw things, break my things, never his own things, only my stuff. So there's just a lot of things there, and that was actually very traumatic, but that was the relationship that kind of changed my life. It made me really see like it's not me. For the long time that we were together for almost 4 years, and I just thought, damn, like I'm really messed up because he used to blame every single thing, every problem of his and mine on myself. So I believed it. I really thought that there was something wrong with me until the end. I finally had like a light bulb moment, and I was like, it's not you, it's this guy. He's freaking nuts. And then I finally kicked him out, made him leave, and my life completely changed after that, honestly. And then I started seeking counseling, took it really seriously, and that really started my journey, my healing journey of like, oh, this all stems from childhood, things that I hadn't dealt with. I never dealt or talked about the childhood sexual abuse. I had a lot of guilt and shame around it because of who did it too. It was my dad.
yes,
So
yes.
I even felt more embarrassed about that because I was just like, oh my God, everybody's going to think I'm like messed up or come from this really jacked up family. And as I kind of started working through that, it took a long time, but I finally came to the realization that's not my guilt and shame to hold. I was 7 years old. I didn't even know what the name was of what he was doing to me. I just knew that it would always happen at night. He was always sneaking around. So that's was my clue that it wasn't right. And plus I didn't like it. It used to make me feel like horrible. And so, yeah. So counseling changed my life. I started reading self-help books too, and that really helped me a lot. A lot of people talk crap about the self-help industry, but it honestly helped me so incredibly much, and it helped me to be more self-aware along with the
Absolutely.
counseling. The counseling and that kind of combined helped me a lot. And so after I left that relationship, I think I was single for about 2 to 3 months. And then I started dating again on the dating apps. And I have a twin sister. And I started telling her about this guy, whoever it was at the time that I was talking to. She's like, Jenny, you just got out of a relationship. Like, why are you already dating? But that was around the time too that I realized I was codependent on men. I had a problem. Like, I couldn't be alone. So
Mm,
she's like, your entire 20s, you dated shitty guys. Do you want your 30s to be the same? And something about that, man, that hit me so deep. So
wow.
deep and so hard. And I was like, you know what? No, I don't want my 30s to be the same way because my 20s were really hard. So her saying that really helped because like I actually was like, all right, if I've always been dating and I've always been like just always with somebody in my life, maybe I should try something different. Maybe I should do the opposite of everything I've been doing because everything I've been doing up until this point clearly hasn't worked. So maybe I need to do something different. So I took that time to like be single. I was almost single for 3 years and I didn't date. I mean, I might have talked to people here and there, but not really, nothing serious. And that really changed my life because I learned to be in my own company. I had serious issues with being alone. And I just always had to be around friends or guys or whoever. I couldn't be alone. So I learned to be in my own company. And in that, I learned to love myself. And the
Mm,
self-love came in. And then I was like, oh, this is what everybody's talking about with the self-love. Like when you feel like that, when you feel like I don't have to date anybody because I'm too good for that, or he's not even on my level. And I never used to feel like that before. I always felt like I had to work to be on their level, or I had to prove myself to be around these people or whatever. So, yeah, so I just got to this point, a really good point where I was just like, wow, like I really love myself and I really am an awesome person. Look at everything that I've been able to do by myself all these years. Um, so then what happened next? Oh yeah, so then I was also in a toxic work environment for a long time as well. I was
yep.
honestly, I would say the majority of my career was being in toxic work environments, which I didn't even know again was a thing.
Yep.
It really is.
The real thing.
I kept getting overlooked for promotions and raises, and they kept telling me you're not ready. At this time, I was also pursuing my bachelor's degree. I didn't have it yet, but I was in my last year, and I was doing school full time, working full time, still raising my daughter by myself. And my boss just kept telling me, "You don't have your degree yet, though. You're not ready yet." I was doing all the work as my colleagues, but I didn't have the degree yet, so they kept telling me, "No, you're not there yet. No, we're not right now. It's not that we don't have the budget for the raise." And I was just like, "What the heck?" I was just like working so hard, and nothing was like happening. So then, yeah, and then I just got this like burning feeling inside, like I'm meant for something bigger than this. I don't know why nobody can see my potential. Why can't they see it? I know it. I know I have something great inside of me, but nobody around me saw it. And then I started doing like these. So I went to this one event. It was like a gently used professional business clothing swap. So just bring your business clothing and go pick out what you want. So I went, and
Neat.
then I didn't really expect it to be like women started, sat in a circle and they started talking. Some of them started crying and they were talking about deep things and like triumphs and downfalls. And I was so completely inspired by that event. That event was the event that changed everything for me because I was so like just inspired. And I was just like, wow, I left feeling amazing. I was like, I feel amazing. Like it felt like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. But then I was like, I want to do something like that. I want to give women that feeling, that vibe that I'd left with. And so I started doing it out of my living room. I just started with
Wow.
15 girls in my living room. And that's kind of how everything started with like And Rise. I know you don't want to talk about it yet, but like that's kind of how everything came
Wow.
together from a lot of rejection, a lot of me feeling like I wasn't good enough, a lot of work on myself, a lot of deep work. And, yeah, I'm
There-
in a different place now today.
Yeah, there's so much there. It's so funny what things are birthed out of a living room or out of a garage for businesses. It's notorious across the line in really well to do businesses that began in garages. Fubu began in a
Mhm.
garage. right? I mean, that's one that pulls, but there's a thousand, there's a
Apple
thousand
did
gyms.
too. I think he started
Yeah,
in his garage too. Yeah.
yeah, Apple. There's a thousand of them that just began inside. I mean, Amazon even started in like a room or something, or because he saw the people going into the bookstore across. It was like, how about I bring these books to them? Anyways, it was so there's so many businesses and organizations that start from that place right there. Churches are big to
Mm-hmm.
start in a house
Yeah.
and then grow from a living room into, a smaller building. But you gave us so much. There was so much there. I'm going to try to I'm going to try to break some of that up a little bit and dive a little deeper into some of them. Because there was so much you've experienced. And thank you for your ability to share with my audience and with all those that you encounter. I mean, that's the power that we have today, is that we get to share this story unapologetically
Yeah.
and with boldness and braveness. And it's important because there's not a lot of people that will do this, that will bravely share the story. We feel like we're not supposed to disclose so much, and we
Yeah.
shouldn't be so self-disclosing. And it's one of the topics I'm teaching right now in business communications class. And I was telling that class, because we go pretty deep in there, but we don't go as deep as we do in my ethics and society class, because it's, about ethics and society. They were
Right.
like, it goes deeper than this with you, Professor. I said, of course it does, you guys. But there was so much there. There's an elephant in the room, and we just sit there and we stare at the elephant. We sweep the elephant under the rug. We don't, and then all of a sudden we're questioning why we're walking so imbalanced, because there's an elephant in the room and we've covered it up with a rug. I need all of my listeners to imagine now a big gigantic elephant and a gigantic rug covering it. Now, is that really going to hide this elephant in the room, that we've swept it under this rug? No, and you got to walk on it. Okay. You got to walk on this rug. You can only get from your bathroom up to your hallway. And all of a sudden now the rug appears. And how are you going to cross over into even getting out your front door to start your day? That's so deep right there. You've got to walk over this elephant rug, and you've got to somehow balance yourself without falling. You're sure to fall if you step on the wrong way. And you've got one leg off. Now your body is affected, right? Just to get to your front door, to go out into this world where many, many people have just walked over their elephant, right? What would your encouragement be to exposing that elephant to somebody? How would they go about exposing it?
I'm not gonna lie, it can be very tough. It was hard for me. To be public about my sexual abuse the way I am now. Now it's like no big deal. But when I first started, I was very scared, because I was scared about what other people would say and think of me and judge me. And I didn't want to be judged. And now I know that it doesn't matter if they judge you or not. That's still your truth. That's my story. That's my truth. And nobody could ever take that from me. They can call me a liar, they could whatever, but I know what happened. So I would say just speak your truth. There's a lot of healing behind telling the truth of what has happened to you. No matter how painful it is, it can be really painful and hard to talk about, but it's very freeing. And I remember I heard that years before I even started this organization. And I would just roll my eyes and be like, that's so stupid. Like, how could talking about something like that make you feel better? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I would literally roll my eyes and just keep it moving. And now it's been like the most incredible just gift to myself to be able to talk about this, because when I talk about it, I feel better about it. And then I know I'm helping other people by talking about it.
Right.
So even if it's scary, it's not like you have to be like me and go shout it from the mountaintops and be very
Right.
like, you can just confide in somebody that you trust. Or even if you don't trust anyone, go write it out, go journal it out and write it down somewhere. And that's also being authentic and talking about what has happened and bringing it to light somewhere, even
Did
if it's
your
on paper.
did you have therapy before? I mean, were you going into therapy and that's what opened up your window to be able to talk, or had you started addressing it before therapy?
No, so I was in therapy or I should say counseling for years and years before I even thought about doing this. And honestly, the reason I became public with it was because of And Rise. That's how I didn't plan to. And to be honest, I started And Rise. I wanted to help women entrepreneurs and small women-owned businesses. And that's kind of the route I wanted to go when I first started it. And at the time I was working with a business coach, and she kept telling me that I should do trauma and abuse. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm good. And then she just kept bringing it up. And I'm like, no. And then finally one day I was like, I think you're right. I think I should be. And that's kind of how it all came
And then
about.
all of a sudden it fell together, right?
It fell together.
Your coach sounds like me, being with my Emily, my last guest speaker. She mentioned just the same thing. She said it was me who was like, no, it's your story, and then finally, she tried a couple other things and it really wasn't working. And then all of a sudden when she said, okay, this is it, I'm going to do it, I'm going in. All of a sudden, all the pieces came together. And now she's the CEO of a nonprofit that helps women connect to change.
Yeah.
Right? And gets them off the streets and gets them to resources. Right.
Awesome.
So when you do step in and open, so all the years of therapy, though, but it wasn't until you started stepping into the purpose of your life.
Yeah.
And this definitive purpose. And I've talked about it actually before, that we get this, we have this hypnotic rhythm, and it can go good habits or bad habits. And if they're bad, they're going to drift us off. If they're good and we're focused, they're going to keep us in pursuit of that definite purpose, that definite purpose. And for you, that's what it was as you began to open up into that definite purpose. One of the other things you said, and I think this is very important, we need to talk about it too, is being alone. You became very dependent on men, abusive men, and that radiated to abusive work. Your whole circle. I mean, again, we are products of our environment. Our environment, it continues to multiply around us. We'll go into toxic work environments. We'll have toxic friendships. Everything. And then you wonder why you're so sick. Mm-hmm. You're so sick because you're around all the mold, all the toxicity, right? But people can be extremely scared to be alone. The reason why I think people are very scared to be alone too is because in aloneness, something bad came in the night when they were alone, and it attacked them, right? This is why they don't want to be still either, because they had to be still to be abused, right? So, and then we think somebody else is really going to save us. Or two, we also think, well, I got to do for this person because that's how I'm validated. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not anything unless I'm here for this person. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes addictive. But you had this epiphany at when your sister said, hey, do you want your 30s looking like your 20s? And but there's a void, and we don't talk about this void enough, that it's pretty painful. Again, just like there's a little void here where you're talking about your story and it feels very uncomfortable. Okay, but you have to press through. The reason why people use substance abuse is so heavy is because they're blocking the pain. Mm-hmm. And if you block the pain and you suppress the pain, you cannot feel through the pain and free the pain. You have to feel through the pain and free the pain. If you don't, you will stay locked in the pain. You're just putting a Band-Aid on the pain. So that's the void I'm talking about, right? If you don't expose yourself to the void and go through the void, you won't be free of the void ever. You will never be free of the void. Yeah. But if you are able to feel the pain of the void and free that pain, you'll be able to walk through, and you'll be able to come onto the other side and be empowered. But my question to you is too, like, what kind of things did you put in practice to help yourself maybe to get through some of that loneliness? Right? What was that like?
That's a good question. Well, I was a single mom too. So like my daughter was always there. She didn't, I never really got help from her dad. So like, it's not like she went to dad's house she did the first 5 years, but after 5, she never saw her dad anymore. So like I was with her 24/7. So I didn't technically feel super alone because I always had my kid there. So that was like kind of comforting for me too. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know like how I did it. I just kind of even when I felt uncomfortable, I was like, too bad, like suck it up. I did feel a lot of discomfort, and I wanted to text or call somebody to say, hey, let's go hang out and let's go do something or come over or whatever. And I just would be like, no, it's a lot of self-awareness of like, because sometimes it's a habit of just calling your friends or calling whoever when you're bored or whatever, so like it was just like when I found myself wanting to reach out, I'd be like, just stop. Don't do it, just go do
That's
something
good.
else, but yeah, it wasn't easy. But once I started kind of getting used to that, like it was like, oh, okay, like I don't actually mind being alone anymore. I actually enjoy it. Like this is actually pretty peaceful to like just be by myself and not have just noise and other things, other people's problems. And like you mentioned, I did also have a lot of toxic friendships that I didn't realize until I was around a lot of broken people as well. They're just as broken as I was. And as I was working on myself, I started to see that, and I was like, I don't want to be around these people because I feel like they're holding me back. I had a friend that I was friends with for a very long time, like since I was like 19, and we had a big falling out, and I felt really, really bad. It felt like a really horrible breakup because I like basically lost my friend group. But because I lost that friend group, that's actually how Andri started. That's how my nonprofit started, because once I stopped hanging out with these girls, so like one summer I was in college. So like one summer before my like last year, we were out every day, or they're at my house or I was at their house. We did something like every day. But then once the school semester started, I was like, all right, I got to get back to the grind. And they were still doing the same things. They were still going out every day, drinking, smoking. And then I was just like, dude, I got to do school. I can't be out with you guys all the time. And then I just saw that they kept it up, and I was like, I'm over here trying to do something with myself, and these girls are just like 18-year-olds wanting to party all the time. And I was just, I don't know. And so I started saying stuff, and they didn't like what I had to say. One of the girls was doing stuff that I didn't really like. And so I would tell her and she would get offended. But I was like, dude, you can't do that. We're not, she was acting like how we acted when we were 19. But I was like, we're
Mhm.
freaking almost 30. Like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And then she would get offended. And so I
Mhm.
just realized like these people are not really who I need to be surrounding myself. So anyway, so then once I stopped with them, I started doing these women empowerment events. And then I was like, I want to create an environment where women are positive and uplifting each other, not like trying to like take each other down, like, or giving bad advice just because I want to see you be on my level. I saw a lot of that in my friend group. Like they're encouraging bad behavior because the other ones were doing bad too. So anyway, so
Yeah.
that's kind of how it all started.
They were dancing in their own demons of trauma and staying there and not becoming aware. And what was happening for you is you were awakening and becoming aware, and you were beginning to separate yourself from
Mm-hmm.
those things internally, because the job
Yeah.
always starts within and then it
Yeah.
radiates outwardly, right? And so once you started doing that internal work and it was continuing to manifest, it was then rippling into your external world, and those, they had to go. And
Mm-hmm.
there's many reasons why they had to go. One of the things I always tell people is that a rocket has boosters on the side of it. I love this. I heard this, Tyler Perry, he said it somewhere. I think it was even at Joel Osteen's probably church or something, as when he did a sermon one day. He said rockets have boosters on the side of them, but there is a level where the rocket goes, and if it goes past that and the boosters stay on, it will self destruct.
Mm,
It will self destruct. Okay.
yeah.
It will blow up. It will self destruct. This vessel will self destruct because the boosters are not intended to go to the elevation that that rocket is intended to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the boosters are dropped off. If they're not somehow dropped off, self-destruction occurs, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
always say that. I was like, you got to just let go of those gassy people. That's all they are, is just gassy people, right? You just got to
Yeah.
let go of those gassy people. Family, friend, or foe, if they're toxic, they must go, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
let them go. But what was happening, it looks like too, is you were identifying some red flags all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's something you talk about and you teach people. And we are really quick. Men are quick to take a red flag and tuck it in its little pocket as a handkerchief. Women, we collect so many that we make a full-on dress out of it.
Yeah.
And we can probably make some shoes too. Okay. And a handbag and a matching bracelet and dropping earrings. Okay. Like we have a full, and a crown. Okay. We can make a whole crown. Like, do not play with us. Right. So Tell me about what's the advice you have with red flags and your ability to see those and how you started seeing those. And now it's something you teach about with Anne Rise. Tell me a little bit, like give my listeners some encouragement or some wisdom around red flags.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start with this. So I do believe that we all have like our internal I call it conscience, right? So like there, especially with women, we naturally have that women's intuition. I'll call it intuition. So we get these vibes and feelings about people, but sometimes we can overlook it or just pretend like we don't feel that. And that's kind of our, in my opinion, this is the way how I describe it. I believe that it is our higher power trying to lead us to the light. Otherwise, I feel like we naturally, just because we're like, natural, we're not perfect people, we're not born perfect. So we just naturally kind of go to the darkness unless we're like really paying attention to what our intuition is saying. Don't go by that person, stay away from them, don't go into that neighborhood, or don't go there. No, something's stopping you. And I, for many years, I've always been a very intuitive person, but I ignored that for many, many years. And I
Mm.
just didn't want to hear it because it was easier to be pissed off and blame everyone else about everything that I was doing. So I would say that that's the first thing is pay attention to what your gut is telling you, because your gut is usually 100% right. And it's
Gut is
usually
a big brain.
yes, it's trying to show you and stop you or protect you from something. So that's the first thing I'll say. And then another big red flag that I think people should watch out for, and this can be with not just a romantic relationship, but it can be friendships as well, is moving too fast. Somebody that just, oh my gosh, I just am in love with you and you're just the most amazing person that I've ever met. And, I just can't be without you another day. So we have to go get married. Let's go get married tomorrow. And you just met them like a week ago. That it actually happens quite often. A lot of people move very quickly, and that's also love bombing. So like somebody can get you like, oh my god, like he thinks I'm just amazing, and man, I just must be so, and I love him too because this is just so amazing, and it's just all rainbows and lollipops. And I think that it's really easy to ignore red flags when you're being love bombed like that, because you start to feel like, wow, I feel so amazing, like he just loves me so much. And the other problem with that love bombing too is that they could genuinely have you on this high pedestal of you're like this queen and this like amazing person. But guess what? Nobody is a queen or like perfect. Well, you know what I mean? Like nobody's perfect, but they put you
Mm-hmm.
in this perfection label. So then when the honeymoon phase ends and you're not that perfect person that they've put you to be, then it's like, they make you feel terrible for not being that perfect person. And then that's
Yep.
another issue. So that's one thing. Another thing too to really be careful about is jealousy. And again, this can be in friendships and or romantic relationships. They don't want you to share you with anyone else, not even your friends or your family. Why are you talking to that person? Or I don't want you talking to that person anymore. Or, just things like that. They want to
Yeah.
control who you are talking to or who you're surrounding yourself around, especially, people who are abusive. They don't want you to be around your friends and family, because once you start telling friends and family how they're treating you, they're going to say, hey, that's not okay. That's a red flag. But they don't want that to even like be a thing, for you to even find out that they are a red flag. And then another thing is like control, like somebody that wants to control again who you hang around with, what you do, what time you come home, who are you with, what
Yeah.
time are you coming home. They text you, they call you, they just don't give you that space to be your own person. Being in a healthy relationship also involves you having your own life outside of that relationship.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I went through. All these things that I'm naming off is because I was in the opposite situation. I was with really controlling guys. I wasn't even allowed to see my sisters, my own
Wow.
family. Like I wasn't allowed to like be on the phone or text, or if I was, who is it, and how do I know that that's really who it is? And if I did go out, like this is a story about my last toxic relationship. If I did go out, he would blow me up the entire night, call me, text me, what time are you coming home? What are you doing now? Who are you with? Who's there? And just never let me actually enjoy my time out. So it got to the point where I stopped going out because I didn't want to deal with his crap. I just rather stay home and be in a okay mood with him than him like blow me up and not even and let me enjoy my own time out. So I just stopped and I started isolating. And
Wow.
that's another thing to watch out for too, is if you notice yourself starting to isolate, to try to keep the peace in your house or keep the peace with this person, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag, because you shouldn't have to do that. Because again, you can be independent and have your own life and still have a very healthy relationship
Yep.
and still have a very loving relationship with someone else, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Boundaries are to protect us, not to offend anybody. Right? I
Yes.
tell people all the time. But when we come from very traumatic backgrounds, little T, big T, honestly, I don't care how very traumatic, when you have trauma of any sort, a lot of times your boundaries are complete trash. You just don't have boundaries. And it takes a lot of work to understand you get to have boundaries, and what are even our boundaries. What does it mean to say no? What does it mean to say, I can't do this for you today? Or no, I'm not going to tell you where I'm going. I don't, no, you cannot prevent me from being around my family. Like, no, you will not talk to me like that. No, you cannot lay down and rape me, basically, because I don't want to have sex right now.
Yeah.
Right. No, you can't do that to me. I'm not yours. You don't own me. You don't own me. And it takes a lot of work because we don't know. I always tell people all the time, right? You have rights to your no. You have rights to your no. You have rights to say no. You also have rights to be told no. It is important to be told no, right? Because the dice of life will toss you a no time and time again. No, no. And you pick up those dice and you say, you know what? My yes is undeniable, number one. So any no that I've had to hear it for a reason. And I receive that and I grow from that point. But I have undeniable yeses. And every one of you who are listening, I want you to be encouraged. You have rights to your no, and your yes is undeniable. You have rights to hear no. And most importantly, you have rights to say no. But a lot of times we didn't. No, you can't touch me. No, I won't take you there. No, you can't spit your verbal abuse all over me. We don't know that because we were so little. We were in a position where we had to do what we were told, where we were just victims of victims. I say it all the time because unfortunately they were victims too. You can see these relationships you've had, these are victims of victims too, right? All the time. I think that it's important for us to be able to identify the red flags and stop playing around with the red flags and stop saying, well, I know, but they're going to change because I'm really good at helping people change. You can't even change yourself. You're still trying to change yourself. Why do you think we can change? You can change. You're not going to change anybody else.
Yeah.
You have to.
And that was me. I was
that
like,
was you.
I can fix him. I can make him better. He has so much potential.
Right.
And that's something else we should talk about, is potential. People being in love with potential instead of actually
the proof.
Yeah, the proof behind it, like actually doing something with that potential.
Right. But the thing is you see the potential in the person. I used to, that my problem is I could see the tiniest white light.
Me too.
But it might be the whole entire room is dark. But if there is one little speck of light, I'm like, I see it and I'm going to nurture it and I'm going to love it and it's going to grow. And this person is not going to be a dark demon no more. I mean, that was me. You guys, I'm so serious. Everybody, I know you're laughing at me right now, but this is a true story. Okay. Listen, I used to be like, there is light in that person and I love the light. And yet the darkness was eating away at my soul. Their darkness, and it was mixing and dancing with my own darkness and my trauma. So now I'm dancing with demons, and I said, I don't even know how to two-step. Like, this has got to stop dancing with demons. I got to stop dancing with demons. I got to stop dancing with my internal ones because I'm sick now, because you're going to go high and then drop low. So don't act like that doesn't happen, everyone, because you all know it does. You're going to go high and drop low, right? And no, I think the thing is because people will come to us and be like, man, you have such great advice. I mean, we are innate with great advice even before we went through because our gift was always there. And I want you to understand this, everybody. Your gift is always there. It's there. It is a gift that you are born with. So the gift of me being a teacher, I was born with. The gift of me being somebody who could translate, I was born with. The gift of me being somebody you could come and talk to and I could give you wisdom and advice, I was born with this. Which is why it had to come to full fruition and continues to bear that fruition, and that fruit grows and my roots grow now and expands, right? Because but I couldn't fix you to save my life. I wasn't able to even fix me, but I could tell you a good story. I could give you some good wisdom. Sure could, right? And then, but you think, oh, right, if I just nurture that little bit of light, but that's not it. I tell people all the time, like, you have to rise, right? You have to rise on your own and let others see you rise. And some will not like that you rise. Some will be very upset because you are no longer useful to them. They don't like it, and that's okay. You're going to go ahead and continue to rise. You need to continue to let what you are experiencing during this rise be shown. Your tools, your tips, your resources, share them out. Share them out so that others can maybe grab them and use them. It's on to them. It's on to them, though, right? But what Jennifer has done is now she's been able to come to Ann Rise and has been flourishing in it. And it's bringing women together. They're having this safe space, and having a true safe, sacred space with women is huge, because it's something, again, that plagues us, that we don't have, which is why we've addressed the wounded mother, and we'll continue to come after the wounded mother, because the reason why women don't like each other is because of the wounded mother. That's the root. And I'm after all roots. So I want it to be known. And I know Jennifer is after roots, because if we don't get the root out, we'll never be able to place the seed of safety in. And it is the seed of safety that we are here pioneering, because from that, we believe in its fruit. We believe in its tree and its fruit. And we believe in the shade it will give to the future generations. And though we will not see all of our pioneer work, the land of the living, we will have a different perspective when we cross over and we are pursuant to this calling to see this work done. And that's what you're doing by bringing these women together, by holding this sacred space, by openly speaking about things. But you actually provide resources. You actually, give them tips and tools, and you actually help them stay accountable, right? So talk to us about the different things that Ann Rise does. And I know you just had a big event too, and congratulations on how well it went. I see it was absolutely outstanding. Talk to us about what Ann Rise does, kind of some of the things, and how hard it is to be a nonprofit and entrepreneurship in nonprofit. Tell us about
that. For sure. So it's and rise. So the and means your story isn't over yet. There's more to tell. And the rise means rising above any adversities that you've faced. And our mission is to empower women to be that ultimate version of themselves, no matter what adversities they faced. So we do offer women in Illinois, we offer free counseling. We have free support groups for women that have survived sexual and domestic abuse or any type of trauma. We offer financial education, trauma life coaching. We do professional development. So we help with resumes and cover letters and mock interviewing skills. And we also take in gently used professional women's clothing, so that in case a woman, wants to get a new job or a new career and maybe can't afford to buy a whole new wardrobe, she at least has somewhere to go to get some clothing. And we do women empowerment events, and I do a lot of workshops on like healthy relationships and red flags and education prevention, because I think that that's really important, because perhaps if, like you and me were educated as kids on what abuse looks like and this is not okay, maybe our abuse would have stopped sooner. Who knows? We didn't have anything like that when we were younger. There's a lot more of that now, but and it's not really honestly as much as it should be, in my opinion. So that's what And Rise does. And I offer all of that based on my personal healing journey and all the things that have helped me. I believe in counseling so much. It's helped me so much. So I don't think money should ever be the barrier of getting that help if you so want it. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have insurance, or they're underinsured or whatever. And I don't think that should be the reason why. So that's why I offer that to women just for free. Doesn't matter if you're undocumented or you make 100,000 K, like if you need it and you want it, we're here to help. And then the support groups have been honestly like just amazing. It's been so incredibly healing for me as a facilitator, and I know it's helped so many women so far. And I think that's kind of what we're more known for, is our support groups. And we started out with 1 a week, and now we're up to 4 a week, and looking to add more. And we do an additional in person once a month in person. We're definitely growing, and things are going really, really great. And we continue to see a huge need for the services that we offer. And to your other question about how a nonprofit goes, it is not easy. There's a lot of rules and a lot of regulations around having a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization, a lot of paperwork, a lot of yearly
Yeah.
paperwork you have to do. You have to come up with your bylaws and your amendments and all these things. So like I would advise if anyone doesn't know what they're doing, like me, hire somebody to write it for you. Hire a a consultant that can write up those bylaws for you. I think it was the best money I ever spent because if it was me trying to figure it out on my own, those bylaws can be very wordy and I didn't understand half the crap it was saying. So just hire help. That's something I've learned along the way is if you don't one have the skills to do it, just hire somebody to do it for you. And
Yeah.
any startup is going to cost money,
Yes.
but as long as you have that passion behind you, that's all that you need, honestly. Yes, you do need money, to start an organization and things like that. But a lot of the times people just see how passionate I am about this when I talk about it and they want to get involved or they want to hear more or they want to just like learn more because they're just
Yes.
like, wow, like I love your passion and wow, like hearing my
Yep.
story. So, if you have a good, compelling story, and even not, even if you just are passionate about it, that's really a huge piece of it in being successful, I think.
Absolutely. And you know what? I will tell you, hands down, everybody, I concur in like getting help with your paperwork and stuff. I actually just formed my corporation. I'm an S corporation. I'm so excited, Cal Empowered.
Congrats.
And thank you. I went through LegalZoom and I want to just say it was the most amazing time. Like it was so fast. I was talking with them yesterday, just making sure I was but it's oh my everything is beautiful. Like I read through, I was like, oh my god, this is just, and they took care of it and it was worth every single tiny penny that went to these people. They were outstanding. The customer service was amazing. Everything is already done. And it's done correctly. Like this is what they do. They do it all the time. And I've been in law, so I could have done it myself. I want you all to know this. I could have done that myself. I know law very well. I've been in law over 20 years now, and I could have done it. I chose not to do that because I was not willing to risk it. Number
Mhm.
one, I didn't want to take the time involved in creating such extensive documents, right? And it's a rigorous process. And
Yeah.
I was like, yes, let me pay this. So yes, you have to have some money, but a little bit of money, listen, little is much if God is in it. Okay. Please understand this, my listeners. Little is much if God is in it. And so you can take a little bit and God will multiply it. We've seen this time
Exactly.
and time again. God is
Exactly.
so good at
I can
multiplying,
attest to that. There's so many
right?
times where I was like, how am I going to pay for this? I don't know how. When am I ever going to make money on this? And like, for myself, like paying myself. I didn't pay myself honestly until a couple of months ago, but I could, but God always provides, even when I would be
Always.
stressed and scared. Even with this casino night that we were just talking about, this fundraiser that I did, I was like, oh my gosh, nobody wants to buy tickets, and how am I going to get people to come? And you know what? The last 2 weeks before the event, I was like, you know what? Whoever is meant to be there, God will bring, and whoever's not won't go. And that's it. I need to
Boom.
stop stressing about it. And guess what? We had a pretty good amount of people, and all of them were like huge supporters of me and it was wonderful. Like so God always provides, always, always, always.
Always. And it's really in you trusting the process and
Yes.
knowing that you are safe to surrender. And again, as you continue to evolve and we pursue mastery, right? Evolution and growth over a lifetime is the pursuit to mastery. So as we continue to evolve and we move forward and you move forward and you do acts like that, where you say, you know what, I'm going to be okay. I surrender to God. I'm safe to surrender. You also healed a moment in time in your trauma where you weren't safe to surrender.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why it's imperative that everyone, we continue to do the work today. I continue to go to counseling. I continue to do hard work. I am pulling off layers and layers and layers and layers and layers because they're connected to decades and decades and decades. And if you really want to go there, it's connected to generations, 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 and generations. But what I know is that we have a living God who is generational. He is about generation to generation. And if he's called you to break a generational curse, I want you to know he has your full back. And little is much. He will, if you take that little, if you take those talents, right, and you don't bury them and you put them out, God will multiply them. God shows you that time and time again. And test him and see, like, why don't you just put it to the test and see? I can guarantee you,
And I want to
I'm a
say
living
something
witness.
really quick about
Yes.
that. So I know that you know that I'm in counseling with my mom right now, still. Like I had mentioned earlier, I was very resentful and angry with her for a long time, but I also knew that I wanted to work on my relationship with her. And this is kind of going to what you were just saying, that those generational cycles, I've been able to see so much now. I can take a step back and I see so much of these, like, just cycles. And but because I've been on my journey, because I've been brave and I've stepped out in faith with God and everything like that too. Now my sister's in counseling. Now my mom is,
You
I'm
see?
working on getting her to go to her own individual counseling, but she's doing it with me. So I figure that's a start. And, so things like that. So just know that there is a lot of power in the decisions that you make for yourself, and people around you are watching and they will eventually follow. And there's so much power in planting seeds with people. So much power. You have no idea.
So
So I
much
just wanted to say
power.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here to say yes, I concur. There is so much power in it. I promise you they're watching. I promise you that they're hungry. Even if they're bickering at you and they're upset with you, they're still inside going, dang, I wish I could have had the courage though to
Yeah.
do what she's doing. Or
Mm-hmm.
dang, I wish I could have opened my mouth or pulled the muzzle off and then opened my mouth, right? I wish I could. And I think that what I want to say this in to all of you as well is that when Jennifer came to me, she hadn't started counseling with her mom. We were just going at this with the wounded mother. And she knew that this was, something that plagued her. And I can remember she said, Natasha, I want you to know something. I'm going to go to counseling with my mom now. And I was like, oh my God, look at the fruits of that faith. You put faith in to go and serve in a capacity to expose and bring light to the wounded mother. And God reciprocated with allowing space for you and your mother to go for this therapy. And no matter what, your mom's going to get a little something and you're getting something. And then look what it did. It just trickled out because God is serious about his daughters. God is serious about his daughters and them rising. God is serious about healing his daughters because we are so powerful. But if we are divided, just like this nation and this world, we will stay in a position of oppression. We will stay in a position of weakness. And when one of the greatest vessels on the earth, because we give life, there's no other way. There's no other way life comes through. I want all of you to understand this. We give life. Women give life. Female animals give life. Please understand this. The female essence, the female embodiment is the life-giving force, and God is life. Mm-hmm. So you tell me that she is supposed to be wounded and she's supposed to be oppressed and controlled and manipulated. No, all that is being done to weaken her power. Mm-hmm. Because if she gets wind of how powerful she is, there will be no stopping her.
Totally believe that. And I totally believe that that's why we're always put at this lower level than men. Because yes. I truly believe, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I'm like, if women rule the world would be a much better place. I don't think that all women are good. I think there's some bad ones, but just like there's great men and bad men. But I truly believe that we are some powerful women, like just people that we literally create life. There would be nothing without us, right. Here on earth at least. So yeah, exactly. And I think they know that. And I think they are intimidated by us. I think we can handle stress way better than men can. I think there's a lot of things that we can do that they can't. And I think that's the reason why we're still kind of in this place where we're not fully equal yet,
Yeah, I think that it's very important for us to heal so we can rise, mm-hmm. right? To heal so that we can rise, because without our healing taking place, we can't go into a position of power, because then we'll be really catty and we'll be really manipulative. We've been actually trained to be manipulators. Like that's part of the programming, right? We've been trained to be dependent on men, right? And have these codependent relationships, right? A lot of women, you look at the history of just how relationships, they left their home and went into the home of the man, right? And so there's a lot of conditional realms that we have to pull off, a lot of societal realms that we have to pull off and come into this new awakening. And I honestly, I think it's an honor to lead the way with women's healing, having been wounded by women so much. My mom, my stepmom, right? Like having, I always be like, yo, I'm called to lead women forward. That is so amazing. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you feel the same way, right? Like it's so amazing to know that we have been called, especially because we've been hurt by women, and we've been hurt by men too. But again, to be able to come and combat and come forward. I really love that you talked about kind of, how hard it is for a nonprofit, but it's worth it too. The work you're doing is making impact. Where do you see the vision? Tell us about the vision before we wrap up. Where do you see Ann Rise going? What's the big vision for you?
So I definitely have a big vision for this nonprofit. Just when you say Susan G. Komen, everybody knows what that is, right? I want that to be us. Like one day we're going to be, when you hear Ann Rise, oh, I know what that is. And I want us to be a worldwide organization helping women all around the world. Because as you know, there's a lot of countries out there where women still don't have rights or resources or any type of help. So that's what I want. I want us to be just big and just have so many resources where that's the organization where women can come to get, whatever, job training or, counseling, free counseling, support groups, whatever it is. We're actually starting a book club soon too. We're trying to do more stuff to build the community because the women that attend our groups really, really like it and they want to hang out like outside of the support groups. So we're trying to find more ways to make that happen so that there's more community with positive and supportive women. And there's no cattiness, none of that mean girl crap in my organization. Hell no, that doesn't happen here. So yeah, this is a safe, beautiful, wonderful space for women for sure.
That's awesome. So my encouragement to you is I want you to from saying I want to, we will be.
We will be.
We will be.
I know. I spoke at the casino night. I said, I'm like, one day this venue, we're gonna not be able to fit in this venue. We're gonna have to go to this United Center. The United Center is where the Bulls play.
That's what I'm talking about right there. We speak life into existence. So I love the book club. So that's great. You know what somebody said to me is we should start a podcast club where we listen to podcasts and then, everybody listens to their podcast and then they come meet and they talk about what they got. I think you guys might want to try that out. You're welcome to listen to any of mine. It's a plug for my podcast.
I love podcasts too. So yeah.
People love them. This is a way to also help you. And I've already told all of you this, that by listening to podcasts and like myself and others that are out there, it definitely helps to motivate you. It gives you that inspiration. I listen to podcasts. I have people who send me podcasts and I'll listen to them. I listen to sermons all the time. I happen to love Sarah Roberts Jacobs, and she just, I can't get enough of her. But I really get into the word and really what it ignites me is because I got a little preacher in me. I swear there's a little preacher in me. Anyways, and so I listen to these things and I try to be very, very conscious and aware of, positive statements. That's what I just talked about last week is the power of I am and how it is our existence is connected to that. So it's really important. So you are a global organization impacting the world. And you are building something that outlasts you, and it continues to rises as you continue to rise in your authority and expanding, right? So your expansion, if people want to get involved with you, like how do they do that? How do they connect with you? I'll make sure you will get her social media handles and all that in the description, but tell them how they can connect with you.
Sure. So if you're looking to connect, you can visit our website, www.womenrisechicago.org, or you can contact me directly at my email, jennifer@womenrisechicago.org. Otherwise, I know she'll give you all the links for our social media. We're all over social media. So
all over social media. They'll be linked in the description below. We could continue and talk. I think there's so much synergy between us and our stories are so similar and we've experienced so much and our passions are so similar and our mission, right? I am honored to do work with you. I am grateful to God to that he allowed us to, come together for his purpose and his work, right? And to be able to go out there and serve alongside of you is it's been a real honor, and I'm really excited about what we get to do forthcoming. So one more thing too. So they don't have to be in Chicago to come to your virtual support groups. Can they be anywhere?
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, we get
Is that
women from all over the US and even
okay?
beyond. So yes, if you are
Cool.
in another state but you want to come to a support group, yes, we get women from all over. So
Cool.
please feel free to join. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's free too. So yeah.
It's free. It's a support group that's free for you, everyone. It's virtual. They can find that on the website. Do they have to sign
Yes.
up for it? Is that what happens?
Yes, and then you go on the website. It says there's a tab on there that says how we help, and then you'll see a drop down for support groups. Go there and then pick whichever support group you want, and then it'll send you to like Eventbrite to sign up, and then you'll
Oh,
get
wow, that is so fantastic.
yeah.
That is just outstanding. I know God is going to continue to bless you and Rise. And, I think if we look at the whole story, right, up to today, from a little girl who was, father sneaking
Yeah.
around, to setting souls upon souls free today, of women whose stories are very similar. See, suffering is necessary until it's no longer necessary, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never negate any of my suffering, Jennifer. I would not one single drop. You mean you would be molested for 10 years again? Yes. You mean your father, you would rape you or molest you or sexually? Yes, I would. I would, because this moment right here would not appear before us, everyone, if we would not have endured the suffering. So do not negate your suffering, because suffering is necessary until it's no longer necessary.
Yeah.
And then you see a very extraordinary world. And today, the world that Jennifer and I live in, and the world that we are in pursuit and mission of, and that we do massive amounts of pioneer work, is worth every drop of suffering. Because somebody today received healing today. Somebody received a piece of freedom today. And for you, for that one person, I know I personally would suffer all over again for you. To know that because in the word of God, he tells us, even the one penny I go looking for, even the one soul I rejoice over. See, even in the one, because little is much if God is in it. So remember that, everybody. Remember to hold on to your faith in this journey. Remember that you're not alone. Remember that you can go through this life of abuse, trauma, turn it into triumph and rise. That's what I want you to be encouraged with today. Thank you, Jennifer, so much for being on my show. I'll definitely have you back. We're going to pick some topics and have you back and just really go into those topics. I think that would be really helpful. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to do another round of the Wounded Mother. We're going to get that scheduled for the new year, sometime in probably the second quarter, it's looking like. So stay tuned for that. Do connect with Jennifer if you are inclined. Support her mission, support her passion. Go ahead and connect into her support groups. If you need that, it's available to you. They're free. This is a free resource. And here's what I want you to know too. You are being drawn in here to rise up so that you can go out and draw in more. We are not building you up to stay. You understand that? Leaders build up more leaders, not followers. We are building you up to go out and to lead, because you have your own net to cast into the sea of sorrow that has so many people trapped inside of it. And you are to bring that net, and you are to sling those souls back on shore. Jennifer, I commend you for pulling those souls out of the sea of despair. And I thank you for continuing, and I cover you in continuing the work that you have, because there are more souls in the sea of despair that you will continue to pull out. And what you're doing is you're training them, just like I am, to go and do this work, because we are not alone and we cannot do this work alone. So everybody, thank you so much for being with us. Jennifer, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. I hope you received a lot out of that episode and are feeling energized and ready for whatever lies ahead. If you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate it if you'd share it out. Thank you in advance for doing so. Please also connect with me on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Natasha M. Palumbo. And until next time, be encouraged, be empowered, and as always, be well.